Okay, Asia session live. Currently looking at Aussie USD. Aussie USD, very simple setup here. We have an H2 breakout bar that closed below previous day low, closed below previous H8 low, and closed below previous week low. We faked out the week range high, and whenever you fake out one side of the range, I expect price to get down to the opposite side. And we've also flipped the monthly breakout level. It's a bullish breakout bar. Breakout levels right here. Price rejected the move at the top and then flipped that breakout level. Technically, it faked out the low over here, so it's pulling back up. So monthly isn't a fake out retracement, but there was rejection at that breakout level. You could see that market rejected that move up, and now we're back down below. So lots of bearish confluence here, looking for sells to continue this move down. Quick buy section, all bearish here. So whenever I see a breakout bar with strong directional bias, I'm always looking for a trend retracement setup. The star icon is the trend retracement setup. This is the one that I'm always looking for and the easiest one to spot. What I want to see is higher time frame directional bias. We have that. Then I want to see a breakout bar key levels. We have that breakout bar at the previous day low. And then I want to see price retrace to the breakout level, fake out the momentum time frame, and then take the trade down to the low and possibly further than that. So I trade trend retracements on the bar itself. Hover over the quick buy section, lets you know that the execution time frame at the bottom there, I trade the H2 bar on the M2. So here on the M2, I can see that the last H2 bar closed as bearish breakout bar. I want to see price retrace back to the breakout level, fake out the momentum time frame, and then take the trade down to the H2 low. So price did come up. Initially, it came up, trigger that momentum time frame. And so once it does that, I'm looking for one of my alignment patterns. So price has retraced back to the high of the bar, faked out the momentum time frame below the breakout level. And at this point, I'm looking for one of my alignment patterns. I trade trend retracements as breakouts. I'm looking for a breakout alignment pattern, reversal, continuation, or pullback. And so I'm looking at the momentum time frame breakout level, the M30 breakout level. I can see that we have the M30 breakout level over here. Broke out below the low, faked out the low below that breakout level, and then faked out the high below that breakout level. And so I know that we are in a continuation pattern, breaking out below the low, faking out the low below that breakout level, and then faking out the high. Tells me that the M30 is in a breakout continuation move. So these text in black, these are the setups that I recommend to trade these patterns. So in a continuation pattern, the safer entry is the trend breakout move at the low of that entire structure. Doesn't mean that these are not valid. It just means that these are aggressive and you have to adjust your risk accordingly. But the safer entry would be that trend breakout at the low over here. But what I like to do is once price triggers that high, all these setups in blue over here mean that you can drop down to a lower time frame and see if you can find a setup over there instead. So once price triggers this M30 high, I can drop down and look for one of these reversal patterns instead. So if you can imagine this move is pushing up, and then once it triggers, I'm dropping down to a lower time frame and looking for one of these patterns. So price retrace, trigger that M30 high, and once it does that, I'm looking to trade the M30 alignment. So execution time frame again, M30 alignment, I trade on the 30 seconds. So basically I'm looking to see momentum on the 30-minute bar. So over here on the 30 seconds where I look at that 30-minute bar, I can see that we have a bearish breakout followed by a bullish fake out. We have a trend continuation setup on the lower time frame. So very often the hard time frame, if I see a trend retracement on hard time frames, you're going to find one of these other setups on the lower time frame. So markets fractal, you can have a breakout on the hard time frame, and then you can have a pullback on lower time frames. You can even have reversals on even lower time frames. So everything kind of fits together, and this is why this is the most important one to look for, because this is the main one, and all these other ones are going to be found inside of this. So over here we have that breakout continuation, a trend continuation setup. And what I want to see is price trigger the highs, the setup time frame, as well as the momentum time frame. And so it did do that. Price came up, triggered the setup time frame, triggered the momentum time frame. And so once it does that, I'm looking for an entry. What I want to see is rejection at the top and then take the move down. So there was no rejection at the top, so I can't take this move over here. And if I don't get rejection at the top, I'm looking for a breakout at the bottom of the M10. and there was no breakout at the bottom. I'm not sure if this was where the bottom was, but did not trigger. So there was no breakout. Um, and so there was no entry for me on this move over here. So now what I'm waiting for is for price to give me another entry. I want to see this momentum time frame get triggered. I already have my alert here. Once it gets triggered, then the whole process starts over again, looking for alignment patterns. And if I get it, if I get that rejection at the top, then I'm going to take the trade down. But right now I can't take it over here. I don't have any setup that goes breakout, fake out, fake out. In fact, fake out, 2 fake outs in a row mean that we're in a range. Don't really like to trade inside ranges. 2 fake outs in a row means that we're inside of a range. We faked out one low, faked out the high. That tells me that market has indecision, doesn't know which way it wants to go. So I don't want to be trading this unless we're at the edges. So I'm going to wait until we get up to the top. And once it triggers that, I'm looking for reversal alignment patterns, which is these ones. So everything's fractal. It all works together. I'm just waiting for price to trigger that momentum time frame. Something else that I have to consider is that the H2 is also very similar to the H1. Very often they have the same trade, so I do have the M2 as well as the M1. This is where I trade that H1 bar. And the M1, pretty much the same setup, breakout bar. Want to see price retrace to the breakout level, fake out the momentum time frame, which it did over here, and it did over here. And once it does that, same exact thing. I'm looking for my alignment patterns, and I can see that the breakout level is down low over here. And when we have a breakout low, we have the breakout level over here, and then price came up, faked out the high above that breakout level. I know that we're in a pullback pattern. So the entry, or the safer entry, these are valid to take, but you just have to understand that these are risky, aggressive ones. And I generally don't like to be so aggressive in Asia session since I trade all 3 sessions. So the recommended entry on this one is when price flips that M15 breakout level, the pullback continuation. But I would never take a trade with this sort of risk to reward. So I'm not interested in this move on the M1. It's too little risk to reward. Not going to look for this. So ideal scenario for me is for price to come up. So whatever happens, I would prefer price to come up, trigger that momentum time frame. And actually, I would like to see an M15 breakout, bullish breakout. It would push this breakout level up. And then I could take a entry from up here. I'd be looking for a false breakout move from the top there. This one right here. When we're breaking out of a high, we'd like to see a reversal pattern. So these reversal patterns, these are my favorite ones to trade because these only happen at swing points. You never have flips of breakout levels unless you're at a swing point. Okay, so 7 more minutes until the H1. Looks like it's going to close as a breakout followed by an inside bar. When I have a breakout followed by an inside bar with higher time frame directional bias, I'm looking for a trend continuation. So again, everything kind of fits together. I can anticipate. I highly doubt in the next 6 minutes this is going to break out or come up and fake out the high or fake out the low. I feel that next 5 minutes is just going to get stuck in here. So I'm anticipating the next move is going to be trend continuation. So I know that price is going to come up and it has to trigger that H1 high over here. Okay, so that's what I'm waiting for. Don't need to look at the 30 seconds at the moment anymore because it has not triggered. Don't want to get confused by that. And something else need to consider is that the H4 is about to close in 1 hour. So in the momentum theory chart at the right here is my trading process. One of my entry considerations is the opening bar time. If there's 20 to 25% of the time of the bar remaining, then I have to be a little bit careful here. I need to see if there's a possible range or a possible breakout bar that's going against my trading bias. And in this case, when we get so close to that opening bar time, you're going to find yourself, you can see that many of these bars have top wicks and bottom wicks, which means that at these closing times, you're going to find yourself in drawdown if you get in too close to the opening bar time. I'd rather wait to see this close and then see the pullback, creating that top wick, and then take the move down. So that's something else I have to consider. It's an outside bar. If it closes like this, it's going to be a breakout bar. I'd be looking for an H4 trend retracement. So lots of things. It's a kind of a puzzle piece that you just need to figure out which time frame is the one that's setting up. And I am a mechanical trader. If I see my setup, then I'm going to take it regardless of which time it is. But I kind of do like this one. Last H4 close outside bar, so that creates a range. If it closes like this, it'll um, destroy that range. And then it does make sense that the next bar would pull back. So let's see what happens here. Not going to take anything unless it pulls back. Okay, so H1 bar closed as an inside bar. So right now I'm waiting for the setup for a trend continuation on the H1. Trend continuation, as I said, is when price comes up and triggers that setup time frame as well as the momentum time frame at the highs over here. So price has to come up and trigger this for the setup. Otherwise, I'm not going to be taking this unless it breaks out. But I don't think I'll take a breakout. The range is too little over here. Most breakouts fail, so if I'm going to take a breakout, it would be more of a breakout from the much wider range. On the H2, its setup is still trend retracement until one more hour here. Let's see what happens here. Has not triggered momentum timeframes, so I have no bias, no entry. Has to trigger one of these M30 low, M30 high, and obviously I prefer that M30 high. Setup on H4, no setup here yet. This is not something that I look for, but it is in a trend breakout. So trend breakouts, if I have the setup consolidation in a narrow breakout range, then I can see that move. But if I miss this move, or if it doesn't set up for me, in this case, don't really see a breakout here. If it doesn't do that, then the way that I get into these breakouts is wait for price to pull back, fake out the high below that level, and then take it down. So right now the H1 high is right here, so this would be a trend breakout, the second setup on the trend breakout, this one. So lots of confluence here. We have that trend breakout over here. We have a trend retracement on the H2, and then we have a trend continuation on the M1. But they're all based off of the idea that this H2 is in a trend retracement. H8 as well. No, H8's breaking out. So my thoughts right now is I think it's safer to wait for the H4 to close and then try to get in on a pullback here. Okay, so I'll be back if it triggers. And if it doesn't trigger, then I'll be back at the H4 bar. All right, so the H8 bar closed, H4 bar closed, H8 closed as a bearish breakout bar. I want to see price retrace and trigger that H1 high. Oh, wait, this is the H4. Let's see, the M5. M5 is where I trade this H8 bar. I want to see price trigger the H2 high, which is right over here. This is a setup. If it does that on the H4, so that's the trend retracement on the M5. On the H4, looking at the M3, this is also a trend retracement. Want to see price come up and trigger the H1 high, which is at the same area. On the H2, it's a breakout followed by an inside. This is a trend continuation. Want to see price come up and trigger that M30 high, same exact area. And on the H1, H1's a bullish breakout. So what this tells me is that this is a trend reversal move. Actually, we're in a range here. But if we have a bullish breakout bar with bearish bias, then I'm looking for a trend reversal. So we have a bullish breakout bar in the H1, and this is a trend reversal setup. So bullish breakout bar, I'm looking for a trend reversal. I want to see price come up. It's a very narrow breakout range, so this is not something I'd be looking for, but just to say what the setup is, price coming up, faking out the high, and as well as the momentum time frame above here. And I would take, this would be the first trade back to that breakout level. Again, this is a very narrow range, so I would not be looking for a trade here. Next trade I'd be looking for is a flip of the breakout levels. which is the H1 breakout level right here. And then next is breaking out below the low. Down here, probably below that range. So we have pretty much every setup here. We have a trend retracement on the higher time frames on the H4 and the H8. And that trend retracement on lower time frames will look like a trend continuation on the H2. And then we have a trend reversal on the H1. So everything is, so trend continuation over here. These continuation moves we have on the lower time frames, this reversal at this point right here. So everything is fractal. Market is completely fractal. I have a breakout in the higher time frames, a continuation on lower time frames, and then reversal on the lowest time frame I'm looking at. Yeah, and so I do like having everything kind of set up like this. I can find the setup in any time frame here, and essentially I just want to know if we get rejection at the top. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see the market reject the move up and then take the move down. I like how the H1 closed bullish breakout. So I know that the pattern that I'd be looking for here, momentum time frame hasn't been triggered yet. But once it does trigger, I'll be looking for one of my reversal patterns, one of the alignment patterns, I mean, and the one that's showing up here is the reversal one. We have a breakout of a high, and then I want to see price come up, trigger that high for a breakout reversal. This I could find aggressive entries over here, but the safer entry would be when price flips that breakout level. So I know that this one is going to be a reversal pattern if it sets up here on the M3. Same thing on the M2 and on the M1. Breakout bar is right over here. So we're breaking out of a high, and so same thing over here, but this is not as pretty as the other ones. M15 closes in 2 minutes here. This can actually be the new breakout level, and then it would be even nicer over here. Okay, so triggered here. That is exactly what I'm looking for. So now I know that we are right here, and now I'm looking for price to come down and flip that breakout level. So I'm going to set another alert here. I know exactly where my entries are going to be, and pretty much that's it. So if I want to be more aggressive, I can now trade the alignment. If I hover over this quick buy section, execution time frame, I trade the H1 alignment on the M1. So I can see how this H1 bar is behaving by looking at the M1. So now it's valid for me to take M1 trades based off of this H4 move. And so the whole idea is I can try to time early entries on this lower time frame if I don't want to wait for that H1. But for me, this H1 is pretty decent, and it will give me a pretty nice risk to reward here, 2.5. Don't think I'll get much higher than that on the M1. So safer entries would be below this H1 breakout level. And again, the strategy is completely fractal. Once we've triggered this M15 momentum time frame, I can even drop down to the 15 seconds and see how this 15-second bar is behaving. All these bars are just noise. I don't need to see anything. All I care about is closing price. I don't care about highs and lows and all that stuff. I just want to see closing price. And right now I can see that we're breaking out of the M15, and so there's no way for me to take this unless we fake out the momentum time frame, which is the M5, and then the M5 breakout level is right over here. So absolute earliest entries I can take would be over here if it flips. In sessions that have more volume, this is definitely something that I would look for. If you look at a lot of my live sessions, the ones that I trade in seconds time frames, this is exactly what I'm doing. Once the momentum time frame gets triggered, I drop down to the seconds, and once the M5 gets triggered, I drop down to the 5 seconds, and I just wait for my entries all the way down here. And you can get massive risk to reward over here. I can sometimes get over 50, 60 R just with one small move like this. But I'm not going to do that in Asia session. Okay, so it is setting up here. Again, I just want to see price get back below this H1 breakout level. Timing is not ideal. I would prefer that I would still be in Asia session, but for me, if I don't find any trades right now, we're at the H8 open right here. I don't take any trades right at this part, but next hour at 1 p.m. is the German Open, and so this is a valid time to be looking for trades as well. So most of the time, I'm trading my regular sessions, which are these ones up here. Tokyo Open, I trade just Nikkei. H4, I trade everything. If I don't take any trades here and I see something setting up nicely, then I don't mind trading these other ones. And same thing with London. If I see a nice setup but nothing gives me any entry even on the H4, then I wait for the H2, which is pre-New York session. Lots of people call it pre-New York session. Um, it has this nice H2 moves over here. Or I rarely trade the New York Open because it's right at the right an hour before that H8 equity open. Equity opens in between, but I pretty much always skip New York Open, but I don't mind trading this H2 one. But for now, I probably will see if I can get an entry very soon here. If I don't get one, I still don't mind trading at German Open. And so let's see what happens here. Okay, and last thing to consider before I stop and wait for the entry is the M5. I'm looking at the H8. Right now, it's a breakout continuation. Well, right now it's a false breakout, but if this gets back under, this would be a breakout continuation, breakout, and faking out the high below that breakout level. My favorite patterns are those reversal patterns, so I would prefer this breakout level to actually be a bullish one. And so the only way that this can happen is if the H2 bar closes in bullish breakout. H2 bar closes in 1.5 hours, and 1.5 hours is exactly when London session starts. So lots of things to consider. If I don't find momentum, I'm not going to try to force this. And this is probably why I'm not trying to take an aggressive entry here, because timing kind of suggests that the move is going to be at London Open. I generally don't trade Asia pairs in London, but that's only because I don't want to be focusing on every single Forex pair in every single session. I want to focus on the high probability movers in each session. So London session, I don't have Aussie USD, but since I did see that setup, and USD pairs actually move well in pretty much every session, I don't mind taking this one. Lots of pairs can move in any session, but it's always better to focus on your specific session pairs. But I don't mind trading this one. I do think it's setting up nicely. I'll scan London pairs really soon and see if I find something better. But as of now, I have not looked at any other pair besides Asia pairs, and I think that this one's setting up the best. Okay, so that's something else to consider, that there's possibly going to be a move on at London Open. Okay, so just watching momentum. If there's no momentum, there's no trade. Okay, M5 has rejected the top, and now I'm looking for an entry. I want to see 15-second, 10-second, or 15-second closures below this level, and we have that right now, and entered on this move. So this is right at the H1 German Open. So I got in here, and now I'm looking for a move down to the low for a 2.5 hour move, and I need to see what happens over here at the inside bar level. So again, on the H4, this is a trend retracement setup. Price is retracing back to that breakout level, broke out above, gave me a fake out over here. This is a reversal pattern, false breakout move, H1 false breakout. Indicator lets me know exactly which bar I should be entering on. There was an entry here as well, but this is a breakout reversal. So as I said, these ones are still valid to take, but they are risky. And so the ones that I recommend are the false breakout and trend reversal moves. So took this move. What determines if this is going to be good or not is if we can get below this H1 low. False breakout, it's still not 100% confirmed until we get below this H1 low. Set up here on the H2 trend continuation. Trend continuations, I want to take it down to that last fake out level. This was not a fake out, it's an inside, so I want to take it down to that inside bar. So I do want to see what happens over there. right at this H2 low. And M1, we had that trend reversal. It's a bullish breakout bar. We have a string of breakout bars here, but we have bearish bias. So these are trend reversal moves. So that first move, faking out the high right here, I want to take it down to the breakout level. So that happened right here. We have a flip of the breakout level right here. And so the trade over here would be down to the H1 breakout level. It's up to you if you think that this is a good enough risk reward. For me, it's not. I wouldn't take that one. Second trade is flipping the breakout level, looking for a trade below that breakout level down to the H1 low, which pretty much just completed right now. And again, this is up to you if you want to take this one. I don't. I could have taken that actually. I wasn't really watching it, but could have taken this one as an early entry, and then after that, I'm looking for a breakout below the low. And these breakouts, I want to trade breakouts to the next momentum cycle. So trade management, breakout setups, the TP is the next momentum cycle. So next time the M15 gets triggered, that's where I'll be looking for either taking partials or moving my stop loss or taking full profit. Again, it's completely up to your own trade management style. All right, so that's a trade. And let's see if this wants to continue on down. 2.5R. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Exiting right over here. So price alerted me getting to this level, and I'm not going to risk all this profit that I made on this trade just for this little bit. So once it started to show a little bit of resistance here, then I'm just exiting. So took my profit here. I do think this will continue on, but don't need to think about it anymore. So I'm starting to push down. It's around 2R on this move. Okay, so that's it. That's done with this AU trade. This was a trend retracement. I think it was the 3-minute. The H4. I think I took it on this H4. So we had a trend retracement setup on the H4. On the H2, it was a trend continuation, and then on the H1, it was a trend reversal. But the whole thesis was based off of this H4 as well as the H8. Both of them are trend retracement. Okay, so that's it. Trend retracement here came up, triggered that momentum time frame, and this is a breakout continuation move. And breakout continuations, I can drop down to lower time frames, so I could see that on the M2 where I trade that H2 bar. So just lots of different ways to trade the move, but the most important thing is that the H4, you set your hard time frame bias on one time frame, and then everything else kind of aligns with that. Okay, so that's it, and done with Asia session. H4 trend retracement for 2R.